make a decision very soon on whether to toss out Sean Combs' conviction on 2 prostitution-related charges.
And today, Combs appeared in court just days ahead of his scheduled sentencing, where his attorneys argued the prostitution-related charges were not properly brought. And it was an argument that left prosecutors annoyed and frustrated.
ABC reporter Darla Mullins is live in Lower Manhattan with the details. Darla.
Good afternoon, Liz and Lauren. This hearing lasted about an hour and a half this morning, and attorneys for Sean Combs essentially argued that after he was acquitted of sex trafficking in the case of Cassie Ventura and Jane, that the 2 counts that he was convicted on, transportation to engage in prostitution, really doesn't make any sense. Sean Diddy Combs out of confinement for the first time in almost 3 months, wearing somewhat wrinkled tan prison clothing Thursday morning, his hair and beard well groomed, but wasn't a fresh cut. This a stark contrast to his sharp, preppy look during his 8-week trial. Combs warmly greeted by Judge Arun Submaranian. "Good morning, Mr. Combs." The 55-year-old enthusiastically responding, "Good morning, Judge." His teen daughters, 3 sons, mother, and other close relatives packing into a federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan with bated breath about Combs' fate. Attorneys on the case summoned back to court 2 weeks ago to answer very specific questions the judge has about the defense motion to vacate the guilty verdict of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution involving ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and another ex testifying under the name Jane for the days-long drug-fueled hotel nights or freak-offs with male escorts paid for and frequently recorded by Combs. The defense arguing prostitution doesn't include commercial voyeurism, that Combs should not be viewed any differently than a producer of amateur porn, and because the encounters were taped, he's protected by the First Amendment. But federal prosecutors shot back, accusing Combs' team of wanting a second bite at the apple, and that any clarification about the definition of prostitution should have been raised at that stage during pre-trial hearings, telling the court otherwise, the defense could just hold that in their back pocket and hope for an acquittal, but raise the legal argument when there is a guilty verdict. Now, after the hearing ended today, Combs spent a little time in the courtroom with his children, his family members, 2 rows of them. He said that he's getting closer. This is what he told them, that he's getting closer and closer to getting home very soon. He told his family he loved them. He even told one of his daughters that he likes her new hairstyle. So he was in good spirits after seeing his family. But again, this decision pending, and we don't know when it's going to come down, but everyone's waiting to find out what it will be. Reporting live in Lower Manhattan, Darla Miles, Channel 7.
All my ops turn rats. All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn rats. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been this way. You been stuck in a computer.
You already know the vibes. We back with another one. Salute to everybody. Salute to everybody. I know y'all thought it was over, but it's not. It's actually not. We here. And we rocking out. Listen, we got a lot to get into today. We're going to be breaking this down. All right. We got the Diddy trial hearing update. Judge Arun Submaranian weighing the acquittal. Can Sean Combs walk? This is the question that everybody's asking themselves. Can Diddy walk? Some people saying no. Some people saying yes. This is what we've been discussing for a very long time. I know a lot of you that just came into the chat, you may think that this video has ended. But the video has not ended. Okay, so salute to everybody. Few of you will come back knowing that we're not ended. But make sure that everybody that comes, make sure that y'all hit the poll. Okay, I'll make sure the poll is right in the chat. Should be there. Okay, yeah, the poll is there. Salute to all of that. Yeah, we went to a breakdown earlier today. We're gonna also go into another screen share. We're gonna go into a couple of screen shares just to give y'all some updates on what happened today. Shout out to everybody that went today. Shout out to everybody that was a part of, you know, the rain and everything. I think this trial is like it was cursed in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like it rained for like a million days. So shout out to everybody that popped out today. I'm just gonna give y'all that. I do want to get into another screen share, so let's get to that. No, let's go here first. All right, we're gonna go here first. We're gonna take a look in with TMZ. and see what they was talking about as well. Shout out to TMZ and Harvey. Let's take a listen to what TMZ had to say.
If the defense in the Diddy case gets its way, Diddy could be a free man next month, because they have filed a massive document basically setting out their position. And their position is that what he was convicted of amounts to nothing more really than an orgy.
Orgies.
Orgies.
Yes, that he had orgies. Big deal. Is kind of the tone of the documents that they filed, and they, make their case for him. If you're going to convict him, that this should be a very lenient sentence.
So what they're asking for is this. They are saying, look, he was found not guilty on all the serious charges: racketeering, fraud, force, coercion, rape, all of those found not guilty. He wasn't charged with rape, but it was part of the force issue. The only thing he's left with is the Mann Act, which is taking a prostitute across state lines and paying them for sex. What they're saying is, what that is worth is 14 months in prison and then supervised release for some period thereafter.
Now, we should say that this is what they are, right. Diddy's team is suggesting to the.
Yes, we understand that's what Diddy's team is suggesting. We also understand that Diddy's team has put a group of professionals in place to make this transition, if he was to get either bail or get this release, to make it more seamless for him to make this transition. They have already put these people in position. That's one thing that we understand that Diddy's team has done. Will it be enough, though, to get time served? It just seems like because when we look at Judge Arun Submaranian, he looks like a very feeble guy, a real simple guy, real humble guy. But he's really stern, though, because the man is not budging. You know what I mean? They done through everything as far as bill packages go. They said they'll do everything, $50 million bail, whatever. Ankle monitors, drug testings, everything. They said, we'll agree to everything, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stipulations or anything. And the judge still ain't budged. He hasn't budged. Okay. So for me, it's like, if you think that you got acquitted of the bigger charges and you got these 2 charges, which are the lesser of the 5, but at the end of the day, they're still big charges because they're federal charges, right? If we think that he's going to let him go, right? Or prior cases, be it Trowbridge, Stebic, and Till's case, be it Chavez case, any other case that Diddy's team referenced for them to get a bail consideration, right? Why would he be so stern on him still? When it comes to Trowbridge, Stebic, and Tills, that one case that they cited, they were never remanded. Remanded is when they hold you in prison and don't give you a bail or a bond. They keep you in prison holding you because they either think you're a demon, you're a threat, a flight risk, or whatever reason. So they'll hold you, they'll remand you, they'll keep you. See what I'm saying? So it's like, why are they holding you so, if they're going to give you a slap on the wrist? So that's why it don't seem like they're going to give him a time served, bro. Just thinking logically, bro. I've been in the streets my whole life. God bless that I'm not in the streets the way I used to be, but sometimes you be into it so deep that you can never get out. So God bless that I was even able to get out as much as I've done straight. So I'm gonna tell y'all straight. But when we think about it, these judges ain't playing. And I just think that it's a lot of pressure on Judge Arun Submaranian right now. I think it's a lot of pressure on him. There haven't been cases like this one. He's probably never tried a case like this, too. This case is like the OJ case of this century right now, this couple of years right now. So this is the biggest case right now. So this is a case where you got to get it right? He wants to get it right. And to get it right means you got to get it right on all sides. So if you believe him, if he believes that there's victims in this situation, right, then that means that he wants to make it right for them, right? Then you got prosecutors, all kind of people like that wants him to make it right for them to give Diddy a certain amount of time. That's another thing. He probably has people around him, family members, that saying, yo, what are you going to do, man? You're going to do this and do that. He maybe wants to make it right to that. Then we got society, the internet, and everything else. Nobody wants to be shamed or be called every kind of thing just because you made a verdict, right? Or ruling on a goddamn verdict, right? So he's even considering that. Remember, we all human beings, bro, and we live in 2025, bro. It's a digital age now. So we consider more things than we used to before. You got to consider what the internet's going to think about his verdict or whatever he think it's going to be as far as sentencing goes. So it's mad things. And then we don't know who he is. We don't know his background really. What's his traumas? What's his, you know what I mean? We don't know. So it's gonna be, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm just really up in the air with this one.
Judge, the prosecutors are on the far other end of the spectrum where they're saying he should get somewhere between 4 to 5 years. That would, I'm sure, include time served. Again, he's been in for a year now.
I got to say,
that would be
that would be throwing the book at him for a Mann Act violation. If he gets 14 months, if the defense gets what they want, he'd essentially get out October 3rd because
he's been in
for a year,
months,
and you get 15% credit for time served. So he'd basically be out after the sentence, and then he'd be on supervised release.
Right.
So there's something more, though, and that is
whether or not
he should be sentenced at all.
Yeah, there's this side battle that's going on where they want to throw out the 2 Mann Act convictions. They've won, and they're sort of trying to spike the football and say those Mann Act convictions should be thrown out as well, because all Diddy did was he never actually hired the prostitutes for the purposes of having sex himself. What he did was hire prostitutes, bring them across state lines. He said they said on the stand, the prostitutes, it was for our company, but even if you believe they came for sex, it wasn't for sex with him. He's saying he was the amateur pornographer, he was the voyeur, but the sex was going on between Cassie or Jane and the prostitute. Now, this is a pretty clever argument. I think it's a little too clever, to be honest with you, because
they made that.
Yeah. Clever argument, though. Clever argument. I'm not gonna lie about it. It's a clever argument. You know what I mean? But what the prosecution was banging back with them, though, is to say, wasn't filming every one of them. So we already know that. And they was going to reach for exhibits to say, look, we're going to show you that he wasn't filming all of them. So now the defense went into a battle to say, yo, wait a minute. Actually, when it go back to Jane, remember Jane also bought a TV? Because remember, Jane said she bought Diddy a TV for his birthday, and she only bought the TV. It was a TV that could be wheeled around the room, like wheeled around. And she only bought this TV so it could suffice instead of the other escort. Remember, she was acting like she just don't want to be with the other escort no more. So she said she got this TV so maybe they could watch back their corns that she was making, and then he could be getting off on the video and then do things with her without the escort. This is what Jane testified in court to, right? So they brought up the TVs to say, look, if he had the TVs as well, he's doing it to be watching it. So it's a good play. It's a good play to how they spun it. I don't know if the judge really going to go for it all the way, but you know, they were watching it back. You know what I'm saying? He was not filming all of them, though. He wasn't. If he was filming all of them, that'd have been something different, because it's like he's like a director. Because now they're trying to put Diddy in the frame of being a director now. That's what the defense is saying. Like, if he was a pornographic director, right? Would this be Tushin? Would this be this? Because they have people traveling cross places to do film and stuff like that. But the prosecution is saying that no, but that is entailed from the very beginning. That's what they're doing. They're filming it, and they're saying they're going to film it. So that's what's going on with that. So it's a tug of war, and it's a good tug of war, and I think it's a lot for Judge Arun to think about. I think it's a lot for him to think about, to consider. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's going to budge. I just think this case is too big to just let it go through like that. I think you gotta let it go to October 3rd if you're him. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna do that. I just don't think he's gonna budge. Even if the defense is making real arguments that you think is really real and should be really considered, I just don't think he's gonna budge. I just think, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I just think he's holding on to Diddy so hard. Pause, because I don't want to say the opposite. You know what I mean? That why, if they're going to give him the slap on the wrist, if they're going to let him go, why hold on to him like that? Just think about it. It just don't make sense to me.
Before
they have.
Well, there's going to be.
But that is, he's right. That is the classic Mann Act, is where you bring a prostitute across state lines for your own purposes.
Yeah, listen,
I mean,
it's an old statute. It's about going out on your
for
wife.
his purposes. Like, I get it. he didn't physically have sex with the prostitutes.
But it's for his sexual
But it's
gratification.
for his sexual gratification.
I get it.
And who, whether he paid for their company or not, that's the oldest excuse in the book to say I'm paid for my company and then I happen to have sex.
It's an uphill climb for them to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the judge is going to answer it later this week.
But the thing that the judge also has to consider, with the Mann Act, is there is a history to this. It is a racist law that was passed during Reconstruction to prevent black men from dating white women.
Famously.
And
Jack Johnson. all
Jack
those-
Johnson, the boxer, was prosecuted. The black boxer,
Chuck Berry.
Chuck
Chuck
Berry,
Berry.
was prosecuted.
He's
So-
also black.
And
Yeah.
who was black? I kind of
Yes, I know. We assumed that they knew
There was a
Chuck Berry.
fear of black men taking white women
But-
across state lines.
But Johnny Cochran in the O.J. Simpson case,
He
famously,
was also black.
who also black,
not prosecuted under the Mann Act, though.
said to the jury, race plays a part in everything, and they raised that issue. They raised that issue with Diddy.
But hasn't, as far as this case is concerned, that ship has sailed.
I think
Right?
it's
They
sailed a
made
bit.
that argument at the beginning of the trial.
To your point, it preserves it for appeal. You can have these kind of academic arguments, and maybe that they want to have this sideshow go all the way up to the Supreme Court and really argue the Mann
I
Act.
don't know. It's
but
a side. I don't
practically-
know that it's a sideshow. Mark Agnifilo, who is the lead lawyer in the case, told us when we did our documentary,
And that was 7 months before the trial started.
and told the jury the exact same thing. What he said was they looked at Diddy, they couldn't go after him for his business, they couldn't go after him for his taxes, so they did the last thing they could possibly do, which is to go into his bedroom. And it was a takedown, they said, of a successful black man. So he made this argument, and
But
and he
now
won
you
on
can't
all the
make
major
that argument
charges.
now and get the charge thrown out.
you're
Like,
right. But does the judge, is that in the
Is it in his
judge's
head?
Is that in the judge's head?
so that he has a more lenient sentence.
That's right.
I
Whether
think-
you look at it, through a prism of look at the history of this law
He got
and look
overcharged.
at what we're left with.
Right.
Don't you think it's more likely the opposite is in the judge's head, that Diddy?
The history of this law right here is that people got like a year. People got probation when they got charged with this as well. But a lot of times you got to understand it was from a long time ago when they were charged. So it's not like it's recent cases. Again, that puts a lot of pressure on Judge Arun. There's no case like this. So that means that you're about to set the precedent of how cases like this are going to be charged in the 20-something century right now. You're going to do that right now. Anybody get charged with those two charges is going to get charged by this. Many more people is going to be getting these two charges that Diddy got. They may not get the whole RICO, but they may be able to get these two charges, right? Have you brought women or people cross state lines to be doing some sex acts and stuff like that? You're liable to get caught in a freako, homie. You don't even need Astroglide or baby oil, bro. You're liable to be in a freako. Let's just be real. You don't have to be a celebrity. You can just be an average American, bro. So we need to understand that we live in a fly out, flued out culture right now. So imagine how many people in a flued out culture, because we in a flued out, everybody want to get flued out. You know it, bro. So imagine how many people right now, average regular people, son, probably get into a bag, but they regular people, bro. The fuck? Some regular people got more money than rappers and entertainers, bro. But they're just regular people, bro. And some people don't have to have money. You don't have to be rich to get caught in a fucking RICO, bro. You don't have to be rich, okay? All you got to do is have the means to make it happen and to achieve it. You got the car that transported the person here, and and then you have the location of where you held them or where you did the act, and That's all you need, bro. You don't need to have a whole bunch of money. It could have been promises the whole way. It could have been no money exchange. It could have been promises with the person the whole time. You promising shorty the money. You brought her there with the car. You brought her to a place. So it's basically you brought her to like a brothel. It ain't a brothel, it's a crib, but that's what she was doing it at. So now they done made that. That's like the brothel, right? You was promising that you was going to give her some bread, but you never gave her none. So there was never no money exchange. But guess what? You still caught in a freako. Straight. And you caught with institution. So imagine how many artists, how many rappers can be caught with this same charge right now. Shout out Splash Splash in the chat. Shout out Monica Ted Turner. Feel me though? Imagine how many artists, rappers can be charged with this if they're not being smart, bro. So right now we got to be careful, bro, because we understand from this case alone, when it came to Jane was frauded, right? So I'm like, how was Jane frauded, right? Because remember, I was there from the whole days, from the first beginning of the trial, from jury selection, everything. And Jane was frauded, she said. Jane was frauded because she was promised a trips to Turk and Caicos, which was not completed or something like that. Do you understand what the fraud is? You making this is what many men do it. Every man, you done promised the shorty some shit to probably keep her quiet, probably to open the oil her ass up, whatever the reason, bro. Men do it. Promise shit. It's called game or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But men do this shit, bro. But this shit ain't a game. You might think it's game that you running, but you might be running game on yourself then, son. Because you done made a promise to shorty that you're not about to complete and commit to, right? You done bought her here, told her fly out, come to you, meet you, Miami, DC, New York, LA, wherever the fuck you at, right? You done passed her some weed or a pill or whatever the case. And in that case, Diddy beat all these other things. But in this case, they was trying to say that just passing the drug to a person, not having a kilo and all this other shit distribution. No, you just passing shorty the drug in the act of all this other shit is distribution, bro. So now you also about to get hit with distribution, bro. It's crazy, bro. If you come from any part of the streets, bro, you understand what I'm talking to you about, bro. They also about to give you distribution, bro. For passing shorty some drug, which she about to take anyway. What the fuck you talking about, bro? She wanted the shit. She told me, yo, I want a perk 30 when she popped out. What is you talking about, bro? She told me, get the Steph Currys. You know what I mean? What the fuck? You about to get a RICO, homie, and get your ass caught in a freak. Imagine that. It's crazy. Shout out my boy Jalen. It's crazy. Let's get back. Let's complete the rest of this, and we're going to go into a next screen share because I want to play my girl, Laura Coates. Shout out to my girl, Laura Coates. You know what she out still. Shout out my girl, Laura Coates. Big CNN, big all of that. You already know the vibes. I ain't pop out at the trial today at the court. You know, I know my energy was missed. I missed everybody there, too. It was so great to see everybody out there, though. The people that I didn't see. I seen Trev popped out. A few people popped out. So shout out to that. Shout out to that. You know what I mean? I'll look forward to seeing y'all come sentencing. I'll be up out there, and we'll be chopping it up. So shout out to all of that. Let's get back to this, though.
He somehow convinced a jury through very successful lawyering to get the major charges thrown out, and I still want to punish him, even though all I have is 2 minor offenses.
Oh, I hope the judge can't think that.
Yeah,
He shouldn't, but he's a human.
You want the judge to go like, oh, he just had great lawyers, so now I need to punish him?
The law is supposed to be dispassionate, but it is run by humans, and Harvey knows that as well as I do. That's why the jurors are human. They respond to evidence in certain ways, so do judges.
If the judge is looking for a pound of flesh, that could backfire for the judge if he wants to be on the appellate court.
Without question.
Hey guys, I'm Joy Daly from New York City, and I believe that Diddy has been sitting in prison behaving himself for over a year. And for the first time in 2 decades, he is clean as a whistle in terms of his sobriety. So I hope that Diddy learned his lesson and he doesn't make any more of these dangerous mistakes, because I believe this entire experience has changed his entire life, shook him to his core, his whole life flashed before his eyes. And I just can't wait to see the outcome of this trial.
Well, we will see. October 3rd is the sentencing, and that's...
We are going to see what that is, but I do want to get into another breakdown real quick. I just want to see what Laura Coates got to say. Shout out to her when I was at the trial. Her, great people that was there. Darla Miles, shout out to Darla Miles, ABC News. Shout out to Jerika Duncan, CBS. Shout out to Laura Coates, who I'm about to play a clip from her from CNN. Everybody, man, you know what I mean? Marge from the World, from the Daily Mail. Everybody. Keith Feldman, NBC News. Everybody, you know what I mean? I can't even name all of you. But, you know, all of y'all, nothing but gracious to me, showed me nothing but love, and was helping me step my journalism up, showed me a lot about how to carry myself, how to get to it when you want to get to a story. These people was really covering stories, you know what I'm saying, whether journalistically, outside, talking about it. And what's crazy about some of those people, because we'd be at home watching them on the news, what was crazy is like Brian and like Shauna Lloyd, you know what I mean, they dope and shit, you know what I mean, but and I look up to them in a way, you know what I'm saying. Whether they could be older than me, I'm older than them, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But just they look like us, bro. And they on that screen and they doing their thing. And I shout out to all of that. They pushing us forward in a way. But They like defense attorney type people, bro. You look at people on the news, think they just some news people. Nah, this is lawyers, bro. This is sharks. You know what I'm saying? Defense attorney type people, bro. So when it just gave me a different realization. I never thought about some of those things just being at the trial, but being there showed me so many different things, and it gave me a different respect for people that cover news, bro. For being out there and getting to those stories, bro. You don't sleep when you you know what I mean? When you get into a story, and I didn't sleep that whole trial, bro. Straight 40 days and 40 nights like Jesus, bro. It was 40 exact days and 40 exact nights, bro. I didn't sleep, so shout out to that. And shout out to everybody that ain't sleep. Hold up, though. Let me see where my homie Shauna. Where you at, Shauna? I'm not Shauna. It's my dog. Laura Coates. It ain't my dog Laura. My bad. Yeah, homie. I got too many homies. My bad. Chill. I soon bring all the homies on the channel too. To show you I got homies for real. Let's get to Laura.
I mean, it's that happened when she tried to escape a freak off, a drug-fueled sex session with
cases, notably the prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Jeffrey Epstein's former lover and also accomplice on sex trafficking. She was convicted, and Comey was critical in that trial. Now, on the defense team, Diddy has a number of attorneys, including some that he had brought charges.
Well, they're trying to argue, I would assume, that he is a addict who can't control himself, not a mastermind of an enterprise for the RICO purposes. But you all make really strong points about how the prosecution and the defense are trying to balance what they believe the jurors might think in the long run when it comes to all these details. And then, of course, there's the testimony that we're going to hear more about in the days to come. We're only in the first week of trial. Real quick, Joey, let me ask you, in the testimony that's coming up quickly, who do you think is going to be their star corroborator? Is it somebody who has witnessed violence, or is it somebody who can talk about Sean Diddy Combs as at the helm of his enterprise or his operations?
Yeah, Laura, I think they have to get all that. First of all, they have to get these receipts together with respect to the interstate travel. They have to show more with regard to what he was doing to influence witness testimony, to not speak with respect to what was happening. They have to show what this organization was all about. Who were the people who are enabling him and orchestrating and scheduling all of these things? I think they have to show more about the prostitution issues and who they were transporting and how they were transporting and who was in control of that. And I think if they do all that, then certainly prosecutors can make a big leap forward. But remember, last point, they'll bring in other victims with regard to the coercion. We're not only going to hear that as it relates to Cassie, we're going to hear that as it relates to victim 2 and victim 3. Coercion versus consent. Was he freaky and had this relationship with everyone, or was he compelling everyone? That's what the critical question is going to be.
We'll see what week 2 brings. Thank you, everyone, so much. Hey, it's the question that keeps coming up. If Diddy allegedly carried out this so-called criminal enterprise for so long, why did no one in the entertainment industry say anything, at least publicly? One reporter has been trying to find that answer, and he interviewed more than 24 industry insiders for a stunning, including instances like this. When you asked John Legend's longtime manager, Ty Sticklorius, about the hotel surveillance video that showed Diddy assaulting Cassie in 2016. And her response was, quote, "None of it surprised me." I mean, how often do you hear this from women working in the music industry?
Well, there are multiple levels of this. And I'll just tell you, I would frame this around another famous case, obviously, R. Kelly. In 2018, I did a very, very involved story about R. Kelly, because for me, I'm 54, and I thought, I remember what Aaliyah went through. I remember when that was, and I thought, how could that have occurred in 1994? She got married to him, when she was 15 years old, and yet for decades that guy continued to thrive. And the reality is, whether it's a legal document or it's just a threat, or it's just the fear that your career will be over. When you're in the entertainment industry, generally you're going to think, I better not speak up. Even on this story, with Sean Combs just in his reputation totally destroyed, I would still talk to people in the music industry who are working there now, who had stories to tell, who were scared to tell them because of the repercussions. And when I say scared to tell them, I mean women.
Talk to me about the use of these non-disclosure agreements to shield the public's knowledge about this kind of abuse.
Yeah, I mean, there were at least 4 examples that we found, and I'm sure there are more. We just don't know, and we don't report on something if we're not sure of it. But there were at least 4 examples in the Combs case where hush money or NDAs were used, and it's a pretty simple procedure. People will see this in other industries, of course, when you're given a severance package or laid off. In order to get that, sometimes the company will say, hey, we're going to give you an NDA, non-disclosure. You can't talk about anything here, good or bad. But it's fairly common to hear this used in the music industry. I mean, I had other examples in that story of people who weren't as famous. A woman named Samantha Cooper, who was working for Warner Music Group and had accused the chief executive officer of trying to ask her back to his hotel room. And she had signed an NDA. And so if she spoke out about this, she would be theoretically fined or have to pay $60,000 per time she spoke out. So it's a pretty chilling effect. The R. Kelly thing, there were, multiple NDAs that I got my hands on that told me the story, which was basically, if you can pay, you just showed that statistic, $300 million. If you can pay $1 million to somebody who doesn't have anything and and tell them you can't speak, it's very tempting for them. And it creates this culture of silence that just perpetuates itself.
The culture of silence, though, certainly for those who have alleged they've been victimized is one thing, but what are you hearing in terms of silence from other entertainers or in these C-suites of these entertainment industries? Why are we not hearing?
All right. We ain't even going to talk about who's been silent because everybody was silent. Okay. The only people that popped out the Diddy trial was Kanye West and G-Dep. Whatever the reason, whatever the season, homie, that's the only people that popped out, bro. Straight. So Diddy ain't got a friend. Okay. But when you caught up in charges like that, what do you expect from people? People can't jump out the window. And the way the prosecution was slinging the case at first, laced baby oils and all type of, it was crazy. It was men, women, thinking it was young people. It was a lot, but we never saw none of this in the trial. So that's why I felt shortchanged when I went to the trial and I was there. I felt shortchanged. I think the prosecution really pushed that out there, and I think that they wanted the public to convict him. They wanted us to convict him. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I feel about it, But I felt like the case was going to be wrapped up the way it was. I thought that he would get convicted of the 2 charges that he got convicted of. I didn't think that he'd get convicted of RICO. I didn't think that he'd get convicted of trafficking. I didn't think it was that. Watching the whole case, I didn't think it was that. I think that the government pushed this RICO. They kind of like ran down like it was a drug RICO, like how they ran down on a crib and how they was pushing all these things out at us like it was this whole thing and this big operation. But then when we got the testimony, I don't think that it filled up to that. Yeah, I don't think it really lived up to that. And then it really was about, it was less about FOs and more about violence and domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? Straight. It was more about that, like the messages, whatever they was trying to really push. It was violence. It was violence. It was yeah, they pushed violence more than FO during the trial. So that was the anchor, like the violence and all of those things were the anchors that they pushed. And then Diddy's defense team already owned up to the violence from the very opening statements, right? From the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? They owned up to it. And that's some of the same thing that led the judge to deny bail. And I think it's some of the same things that will be brought back as relevant conduct as far as sentencing goes. Just the abuses, just, you know, even though he beat the coercion and he beat the fraud and he beat all these things, you know, these things still could be brought back into your trial as far as sentencing goes. You know what I mean? So I think that it'll still play a role, you know, and yeah, you know what I mean? Maybe Diddy gets a couple of years more. You know what I'm saying? Even if he don't get the maximum that the prosecution is seeking. The prosecution is seeking like 5 to 6 years. You know, and they feel that that's standard based on the 2 charges. But they really want more than that. But I doubt they'll get that. You see what I'm saying? But just based on those 2 charges and based on what some other people done got, this is what they're going to say. But the cases that the defense cited, you know, people got like a year. You know what I mean? Got probation even. And those cases wasn't like Diddy's case, you know, because usually it's A to B for you to do something with A or like that. You know what I'm saying? But Diddy's there with it and he's doing it with them. That's why it's just a weird case. So y'all get in the chat though. Y'all let me know what y'all thinking about it. Most definitely y'all get in the chat. Do y'all think Diddy walks? Do you think Diddy walks? What do you think he gets? Think he gets a year? Think he gets time served? He's gonna get 5. Some people say, yo, T said I'm like, he gonna get 20. He ain't getting 20. Some people say he's gonna get 20. I don't think he's gonna get 20. You know what I'm saying? If he got 10, 10 is the max of a rock out in a case like this. Even though both could get 10 maximum, if he got 10 years, they rocked him. Crazy. 20 years is not rocking because 20 years is preponderance, bro. They're gonna do it. But 10 years is rocked them. Boom. But if they give him 5 years, even in this case, based on a couple of those cases that they cited, it'd be like they rocked him, even if they give him 5 years. Okay. So don't think he just got to get 10 years to be rocked. If you give him 5 years, they rocked him. You know what I'm saying? So will Diddy be released? Do they feel that Diddy is not the threat to the community that he is? Maybe during sentencing, Diddy can speak. Maybe he says something good. Maybe he says some things about maybe they talk more about what this looks like of him going outside and being free. I think we need to hear that. I think the judge needs to hear that. What does it look like for Sean Combs to be free and rehabilitating in the free world and not being a detriment to the community or, you know what I mean, or to society or something like that. You feel me? Or to himself or anyone else. I think they need to push for some of that more. What does this look like? Yo, he's going to be doing this. He already got things. He want to be doing this. He want to be doing charity. He want to be like, put it out there. You know what I'm saying? So y'all subscribe to the channel. Y'all turn the notification bells on and make sure you're notified when we drop new content. You already know the vibes.
All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat. You been stuck in a computer. Show me the proof. All my niggas turn shooters. All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. Welcome to the OOTAONGO. All my niggas from the OOTAONGO. All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been a threat.